My fiancée demanded I gift 10% of my company to her parents as a wedding present. But when I refused, and she lied, saying, I agreed, I canceled everything and exposed her manipulation. I'm 33 years old. I run my own tech consulting firm, and I need to tell this story because basically my life went to hell about 3 months ago, and there are still people who think I'm the villain here. The thing is that my ex-fiancée, Sophie, literally asked me to gift her parents shares of my company as a wedding present. And when I say literally, I mean she seriously asked me this, like she was asking me to buy flowers or something. And when I refused, everything exploded in a way I never imagined. But I guess I should start from the beginning so this makes sense. I met Sophie about 2.5 years ago at a business conference in San Francisco. She worked in marketing for a pretty big cosmetics company, and I was there presenting my company, which I had built from scratch over the last 8 years. We met at one of those cocktail parties after the event. You know, the ones where everyone's kind of awkward with a drink in their hand trying to network. Sophie was amazing at, first, honestly, super smart, ambitious. We had conversations that lasted hours about business and future plans. She came from a family with money. I knew that from the beginning. Her dad had several rental properties and her mom was like some kind of image consultant or something. But I never cared because Sophie seemed to be her own person. You know what I mean? We dated for a year before I proposed. I did it classic style, taking her to that Italian restaurant she loved, the one with the terrace overlooking the city. She said yes immediately, crying and the whole thing, and I thought, okay, this is the person I'm going to share my life with. Her parents, the Thompsons, seemed happy about the engagement. They threw this huge dinner at their house to celebrate, invited like 50 people. It was all very elegant and formal. I felt a bit out of place, honestly, because my family is much simpler, but I made an effort to fit in because I wanted things to work. My company, by the way, I built it completely on my own. I started when I was 25 with literally $5,000 I had saved, working at a software company I hated. I rented a tiny space, like a glorified cubicle, and started offering tech consulting services to small businesses that needed help with their systems. The first 2 years were brutal. I worked like 12 or 14 hours a day. There were weeks where I basically ate rice and beans because I was investing everything in the company. Little by little, I started getting bigger clients. Hired my first employee when I was 27, and now I have a team of 18 people, and we work with some pretty important companies. We're not Google or anything like that, but it's a solid company that generates good income, and that I built with my sweat and my own decisions. You know what I mean? Everything was going well with Sophie during the engagement. We were planning the wedding, which was going to be in June, like 6 months after the engagement. She wanted something big. Obviously, her parents insisted on paying for most of it, which seemed generous but also made me feel a bit uncomfortable because I wanted to contribute more. We chose the venue, the church, all that stuff. I was happy, nervous like any guy before getting married, but happy. And then, 3 months before the wedding, Sophie drops the bomb on me. We were at my house. It was a Sunday afternoon. I remember I was making coffee in the kitchen when she walked in and sat on the bar stool with that face she makes when she wants to ask me something important. And she tells me, I have an idea for a gift for my parents, something really special that would show them how much we appreciate them. I thought, okay, maybe she wants us to buy something expensive for them, like a trip or something, and I say, sure, what do you have in mind? And she very casually tells me, how about giving them a stake in your company, like 5 or 10%, as a wedding gift to show them we're a family? Now, I stood there with the coffee pot in my hand like an idiot, processing what I had just heard. Excuse me? I said, because honestly I thought I had heard wrong. And she repeats it, give them shares of your company, you know, so they can be part of your success too. She said it like she was asking me to buy them a toaster or something completely normal. I told her, Sophie, you can't just gift company shares like that. It's my business, my livelihood, everything I've built for 8 years. Plus, they're not even involved in the company. It doesn't make sense from any point of view. She got upset immediately. She told me I was being selfish, that when you get married, you share everything with your partner and their family. But we weren't talking about generosity. We were talking about giving away pieces of my company. I tried to explain that giving company shares isn't like giving a normal gift, that it comes with legal responsibilities, that her parents would have a say in important decisions, that it could complicate absolutely everything if things didn't work out well. But she didn't want to listen. She basically told me to think about it and left my house furious. About 2 weeks passed where things were tense between us. I thought she had realized how absurd her request was and that we'd leave it at that. But then I got a call from her mother, Mrs. Thompson, on a Tuesday afternoon while I was at the office. She tells me all excited, "Marcus, Sophie told us about the generous gift you're going to give us. We're so touched. It really shows you consider us part of your family." I froze, literally didn't know what to say. I said something like, "Mrs. Thompson, I think there's been a misunderstanding. I need to talk to Sophie first," and hung up. I called Sophie immediately and I was furious, like angrier than I had been in years. I told her, "Did you tell your parents I agreed to give them shares of my company? Did you seriously lie to them about that?" And she gets all defensive, saying she knew I would eventually agree, that she just wanted her parents to get excited about the idea, that it wasn't a big deal. Not a big deal. Can you believe it? She had lied to her own parents about something so serious and was acting like I was overreacting. So we had a huge fight that night. I went to her apartment and we argued for like 3 hours. I kept telling her this was completely unacceptable, that she had crossed a huge line by lying to her parents about something that involved my business. She insisted I was being unfair, that if I really loved her and valued her family, I would make this sacrifice. Sacrifice, that's what she called it, like giving away. 10% of what I had built over 8 years was something minor. At the end of that fight, Sophie gave me an ultimatum. She told me, "Either you give my parents the shares, or we cancel the wedding." Just like that. Just that brutal. I left her apartment that night feeling like I'd been punched in the stomach. I called my best friend Ben at 1 in the morning because I couldn't sleep. I told him everything and he basically said what I already knew. That this was crazy, that no reasonable person would ask for something like this, much less give an ultimatum over it. But the part of me that loved Sophie, that had planned to marry her, kept thinking maybe we could work this out somehow. But the next day I called Rachel, who's my lawyer, and also a friend from college. I explained the situation and she called me into her office immediately. We sat in that conference room she has with the glass walls, and she was brutally honest with me. She told me, "Marcus, if you give shares to Sophie's parents, especially under these circumstances, you're opening the door to a potential legal and financial disaster." She explained that if things didn't work out well with Sophie after we got married, or if her relationship with her parents got complicated, they would have power over critical decisions in my company. She asked me, "Do you trust that the Thompsons will always act in the best interest of your business? Or their daughters?" And when she put it that way, the answer was obvious. Rachel also asked me something that stuck with me. She said, "What kind of person who supposedly loves you would ask you to risk everything you've built just to impress her parents?" That question hit me hard because she was right. Sophie wasn't thinking about me or what this meant to me. She was only thinking about looking good to her family and what she wanted. I decided my final answer was no, absolutely not. I told Sophie we needed to talk and we met at a neutral cafe, not at my place or hers. I told her very clearly, "I'm not going to give shares of my company to your parents. This is non-negotiable, and you need to tell them the truth about what happened." I expected maybe she'd see reason, that we'd see there were other ways to honor her parents without destroying my business. But instead, she accused me of not loving her enough, of putting my company above our relationship, of being selfish and materialistic. I told her, "Sophie, this isn't about choosing between you and my company. This is about you asking me for something completely unreasonable and then punishing me for having boundaries." She got up from the table and told me, "Then I guess the wedding isn't happening," and left. Just like that. No more conversation, no trying to find middle ground, nothing. The next few days were horrible. Sophie started calling our mutual friends, telling them her version of the story, where I was the villain who refused to make a goodwill gesture toward her family because I was a penny-pinching, money-obsessed person. I got messages from people asking what was going on. some subtly suggesting maybe I was being too harsh. I felt like I was going crazy. Did people really think it was reasonable to give away pieces of a company just like that? Then I got another call from Sophie's parents, this time both of them on speakerphone. Mr. Thompson started with that condescending tone that guys with money use when they think they know more than you, telling me I was making a big mistake. That marriage is about joining families and sharing resources, that I was being immature and short-sighted. Mrs. Thompson was crying in the background, saying she thought I was different, that I had disappointed them enormously. I told them I respected their opinion, but my decision was made, and that honestly I found it inappropriate that they were pressuring me about this. Mr. Thompson told me I was going to regret this, that I was throwing away a family that had accepted and loved me. I hung up and blocked them immediately, both them and Sophie. But Sophie didn't give up that easily. Like a week later, she showed up at my house unannounced, like 8 at night on a Friday. She rang the doorbell until I opened, and when I saw her, she had red eyes from crying. She told me she had been a fool, that she was so sorry that we could forget all this and move forward with the wedding, that she didn't need to give her parents shares, that she just wanted to be with me. Part of me wanted to believe her, honestly, because I had loved this woman and had planned a future with her. But then I started thinking about everything that had happened. I asked her, "What about the ultimatum? What about saying, we couldn't get married if I didn't do this?" And she started with excuses, that she had been under a lot of pressure from her parents, that she hadn't been thinking clearly, that love was more important than all that. But I couldn't trust her anymore. I told her, "Sophie, you lied to me. You lied to your parents. You gave me an ultimatum about something you knew was important to me, and now you just want to come back because your tactics didn't work." She started crying harder, telling me I was cruel. How could I say those things to her? I told her it was better if she left and we moved on with our lives separately. After that, things got worse before they got better. Sophie doubled down on efforts to paint the narrative that I was a heartless monster. She posted vague things on social media about people who put money before love, those kinds of obvious subtweets everyone understands. Some of our mutual friends stopped talking to me. But then my friend Claire, who had known Sophie before I did, called me to ask what had really happened. I told her the whole story, unfiltered, including the ultimatum and the lies. Claire was quiet for a moment and then told me, "You need more people to know this, because Sophie is saying you canceled the wedding because you didn't want to share your money with her." I decided to do something I never thought I'd do. I made a long post explaining exactly what had happened, without naming Sophie directly, but being very clear about the facts, that I had been asked to give away shares of my company as a wedding gift, that I had refused because it was unreasonable, and that I had been given an ultimatum about it. I included screenshots of some messages where it was clear she had lied about my supposed acceptance. I didn't do it for revenge. I did it because I was tired of being painted as the villain when I had only defended something I had built with years of work. The response was immediate. Friends who before seemed to be on Sophie's side started contacting me, apologizing, saying they hadn't understood the magnitude of what she had asked me. My friend Ben wrote me a long message supporting me and telling me I had done the right thing. Even people I didn't know that well. Other entrepreneurs and professionals in my network wrote me support messages, saying they had gone through similar situations where people tried to take advantage of their success. Sophie tried one last time to contact me like 2 weeks later. She sent me a long message, like an essay, where she mixed apologies with accusations, saying, yes, maybe she had gone too far, but that I had also been cruel and too rigid, that couples should be able to get past this. I responded once, telling her there was nothing more to talk about, that I wished her the best, but that we should go our separate ways, and blocked her everywhere. It was liberating, honestly, like closing a door I should have closed earlier. Now, 3 months later, I'm in a much better place. My company keeps growing. In fact, we just closed a contract with a pretty big new client that's going to mean expanding the team. I've been going out more with my friends. I got back to the gym that I had abandoned during all the wedding drama, and I'm focusing on myself for the first time in a long time. I'm not going to lie. There are moments where I think about Sophie, where I wonder if things could have been different if she had been a different person. But then I remember the ultimatum, and I know I made the right decision. Last week, Ben invited me to a casual get-together with some friends, and Claire was there with a friend of hers who works in graphic design. We talked all night about projects and travel and future plans, and it was the first time in months I felt completely relaxed and myself, without all that weight on my shoulders. I'm not saying I'm ready for another relationship or anything like that, but I'm good where I am now, protecting what I built and surrounding myself with people who really understand the value of that. And at the end of the day, that's enough for now, I guess.